Hello YouTube, Reddit Math here, and welcome back to the Red Estate. And it feels good to say that, right? So we've got a couple of our characters in stress reduction in the Abbey and Tavern. We're going to go ahead and pop back into our stagecoach before we depart here and grab...
More arrive, foolishly seeking fortune and glory in this domain of the damned.
a couple more stagecoach upgrades. The idea here being that's going to give us 4 characters when we come back from this next dungeon. Hopefully, well, I guess we'll have a vessel ready again, so we don't exactly need a healer, but we could certainly do with, you know, at least 2 to kind of rotate back and forth, and an upgraded hero barracks to get our roster up to 12. One of the things that the Radiant mode does, it increases XP gain and makes stagecoach stuff a little bit cheaper to upgrade. Those are really some of the bigger things I feel like it changes. There's also a slight defense buff at like high light, things like that that can make the game a little bit easier. But largely it's just about gaining more experience so you can get people upgraded faster and then getting more stagecoach stuff faster. There's also an additional level of experience recruits that you can get that's not available in the regular game, so that you can have a chance to pull in characters of up to level 4. That way, you know, if you lose people in the late game, it's not quite as soul-crushing because you could just recruit people to more or less immediately replace them. All right, with that out of the way, looking at what we've got here, these are basically some real terrible trinket options. Disease, bleed and blight, the blah blah blah. The speed stone is really about the best thing we can hope for here. And speaking of speed, we've also taken the health stone, and I figured we'll go a bit to Highwayman. He's got quick reflexes, so the -1 speed still leaves him with more than base speed, and 3 more HP than he would normally have, so I figure that's okay. I altered their order a little bit about what I said. I think I was thinking originally it was going to be that, but this makes more sense because from the 3rd position he can use Open Vein, and otherwise everybody can use everything from the position they're in. We don't have the ability to unlock other skills yet, so we're sort of stuck with what we're recruiting at the moment. So this is gonna have to make do. In provisioning blood. So I'm assuming like we haven't unlocked everything yet still, right? You know, obviously the Cove, the Weald, the Warrens all still locked. The Courtyard actually not locked, but like there's nothing that we can do in it. You know, we could wander off into the darkest dungeon right away, but that seems maybe a fool's errand. So I'm not quite sure like what's going to allow us entry into the Courtyard. Similarly, districts are locked. You know, the first 3 or 4 adventures slowly are going to unlock more and more, you know, complete more quests to unlock. More and more stuff down here. I'm assuming the same is going to be true for the new Crimson Court stuff as well. That eventually we're going to find out exactly what's up with the blood vials. Hopefully we'll have a few of them collected by then too. I'm assuming, you know, that there's vampirism, basically, like that there's going to be a disease or a negative trait or something like that, that we then have to sort of satiate by equipping the blood. Like maybe it makes those characters, this is my like totally blind, no spoilers yet guess, is that it's got like a trait that is positive as long as you have like the blood in you, but there's some sort of like debuff that can happen in the dungeon or something like that, where you get hungry, you have to be able to give them blood, otherwise they get like a huge negative debuff. Like that would be a system that would make some degree of sense to me, and that's what I'm guessing at the current time. Only time will tell whether or not we're even a little bit right about that. So we can encounter cultists in there. Is anything blighting us in the dungeon? I don't really think so. So I'm thinking we're going to go with maybe something like this. And we shouldn't need that for now. I don't think we're going to encounter like anything in the dungeon. I think it's a very, like, we would have to set off knowing from the tooltip that came up earlier. But yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. We're going to have to, you know, we need to worry about gold in our early economy. We do. And then the other thing to kind of keep in mind is these characters aren't worth that much to us. Granted, it is Reynald and Dismas, but in general, these characters are fodder early on in the game. And if we lose them, we lose them. They don't need all of our money thrown at them to ensure that they come out alive. Plus, it's a level 1 ruins and we're playing in Radiant mode. How hard could it be?
The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble line?
Hopefully, of course, I don't eat those how hard could it be words sometime later. So, we need 100% of room battles. We can already see 3 of them. We are going to have to go this way, so we might as well go this way first. Get our backtracking kind of out of the way.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Alright. I also kind of can't wait. I like short dungeons, not really my favorite, I'll be honest with you. I like the camping mechanic and the camping skills. I think that adds a lot to the game. And without it, things feel a little shallow, a little repetitive. I understand. Oh, of course. So, never mind. We can totally encounter things that can inflict blight on us. There are spiders down here that I did not recall. All right. Anyway,
another one falls.
I was gonna say, I feel like it would get a little bit repetitive if short dungeons were the only thing. I think the camping mechanic is actually quite cool. The buffs are neat. I will kind of complain. I understand why it was done and what it was designed to curb.
Another abomination cleansed from our lands.
I really miss when camping had a lot of buffs that would give you until next rest.
Executed with impunity.
Rather than the 4 battle limit that things are giving now. Speaking of the 4 battle limit, I noticed this in the last video that I played in the Darkest Dungeon, like ending that series, but that there were some abilities for the Abomination that had a usage limit. We now see that kind of returning with Tracking Shot only having 1 use per battle. That is kind of interesting.
Fiend.
I'm not really sure what I think about that change, like how opposed or for.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood.
I really am, but, you know, I mean, Tracking Shot was probably not my most used thing, but I guess that you could, I guess, just stack it until it got really abusive. That seems to be what they've targeted with it, or things where they're like, well, you know, you could do this more times in a battle, where I guess if you perma-stunned stuff and sat around for a really long time, but like, I don't know. I don't know what the benefit of doing that would even be, right? You're, I think we're gonna go down and over, hope to get a scout here. If we see that it's empty, we can go up, you know, etc., etc. We'll try something like that. We know we've got to go to at least these 2 rooms. We've got battles in both directions, so it's really just sort of a coin flip with our current level of intel. But, you know, with doing stuff like that, like, I don't know, what are you gaining by stalling long enough to super buff out one of your characters? Feels like you might as well have just been attacking that entire time, and you would have gained relatively the same effect. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is some niche case, or I haven't like really looked at the numbers, and it's super obvious when you dive into it.
Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light?
But certainly, you know, 1 use per type stuff is an interesting solution to that problem. I wonder if like all of the classes are going to have more stuff like that. You know, like, for example, the revenge buff isn't that way, and this feels like one, you know, with a plus 25% damage, that maybe there's more opportunity to exploit. So it seems strange to me that something like Tracking Shop would get it. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear if, you know, there's already been community discussion about it, if there's some inherent explanation that I'm not understanding, or something like that. I'd certainly be very curious to hear about it in the comments. So let me know. You know what? I feel like this is actually going to be a long enough fight. He has no protection, and his dodge is pretty terrible anyway. So the accuracy, especially, and the damage as well are both really kind of worth it. Ooh, that was rough. Bring on the bleed. At least I packed bandages. Okay. Yep, I can bandage. Alright. Thanks, Tooltip. I'm actually not going to bandage, not for that small amount of damage. Ugh, I might regret that if I take a couple of critical quarrels, though. Okay. Things are fine. We're fine. Everybody's fine. Basically just gonna, you know, here's an example of, like, you just keep playing the battle ballad. Like, this is, you know, this is a buff that I feel like everyone applies like 20 times in long fights.
Precision and power.
It's basically the entire character build is just this character constantly plays this one buff over and over again from this position. That and, you know, de-stressing. It's a rough push. So we lose a turn out of our leopard due to that. How likely is this to do 4? Pretty much guaranteed.
Surges as the enemy crumbles.
It's always the way, right? You always crit the one that's like going to die anyway, and then like do minimum 4 damage to the guy that you could have really used the crit on. Is that just my experience when playing Darkest Dungeon? Nobody else encounters that? Oh, okay. Thanks.
Masterfully executed.
Right. That was maybe a little bit better. And then I'm thinking we could purge, but that would only do 1 to 2. You know, for right now,
Continually
we've got other targets to hit.
Destroy.
Of course, I say that, and then immediately don't have any other targets to hit. So we're gonna go ahead and use the buff
The
here.
light, the promise of safety.
Apparently, the Bone Arbalist doesn't care at all about people being marked. Not quite enough to kill him.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
But the Wombo combo there was enough to kill him, so we're gonna be okay. Taking some real HP damage, pal. We're gonna go ahead and let him feast a little bit, and then I know this is gonna be a I'm pretty sure a protection buff, and I'm kind of thinking like with him having revenge, maybe I don't want to up his protection, because right now getting the negative 25% protection doesn't mean anything, but if he does have protection, you know, suddenly it does. So that maybe it would be better on Reynald. Seems like it would also maybe make his Bulwark of Faith better, because he would get more protection and get a self-marked target. So let's try that. We'll go ahead and go with a little holy water on a suit of armor. It had no effect. Did I forget all of the things? Oh, okay. It didn't do that at all. I swore that was the protection buff. Apparently I am completely wrong. I did, however, just gain Ruins Adventure, so, you know, kudos to me. Also, I didn't read this journal page. I'd love to, like, collect them all and read this in order, but I feel like, I don't know. Maybe we'll never have that opportunity. Like, we'll never get all of them and be able to read them in order. You can pause if you want to read. I didn't. I'll try to get to it at some point. I'm kind of hoping that the other advantage to, you know, playing in Radiant mode is, like, I can kind of get everything cleared out and then spend a lot of time, you know, beating all the bosses and just spending, like, some extra time upgrading everything to experience it all. I don't know if that's possible. Like, I kind of feel like some things that have been added to the game, you know, like the raids by Wolf, was it? I've only ever fought him the one time, but that stuff like that repeatedly happens and, you know, more or less forces boss fights on you if you sort of dilly-dally around. So maybe I won't have that opportunity, but I would like to collect all the journal pages. I think that would be a cool thing to have said you've done, that sort of thing. So this is pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. We did get a scout. We find out we don't need to go to this room, which means that's a hallway battle that we basically can just ignore. Awesome. Anytime you have a character with like super high trap disarm, it's basically just a free de-stressing for them over and over again, right? I think this makes the most sense.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
We could have boosted our light level, but it just like wasn't really that low, so I didn't really want to backtrack to here like after it got that low. So instead we just traded a medicinal herb for 75 gold. I think that's actually a net loss just because the medicinal herbs cost more than that, but you know, you live, you learn. I was actually kind of hoping it was going to give me food. I was going to use it to heal up just a little bit. That's rough. Thinking should probably try to focus down.
Disadvantage.
Yeah.
Give them no quarter.
Of course, with the power of hindsight, but that was the right decision because it killed him in one hit. Whether or not it would have been the right decision had it not killed him in one hit, I don't know.
Decimated.
But jeez Louise, all of our attacks have been killing people in one hit, so we've just made the right decisions across the board with the power of hindsight to confirm it. Alright. I was about to say Eldritch Push doesn't really matter so much to him. And he dodged, so it really didn't matter so much to him.
This expedition at least promises success.
Alright, stun skill chance reduces dodge, which is 12, dodge is 7. We might look at maybe like our Plague Doctor for that or something. I do think we're going to step right out to here so we could grab this loot. And it is nothing, so we will backtrack and take... Did we take 1 damage from doing that? I saw the stress indicator, but wasn't there... Somebody was bleeding. Yeah, that's... He was still bleeding. That's the only way that makes sense. I do think we're going to go ahead and push forward here. This has totally turned out to be worth it.
The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
Right, the Onyx stacked, so we actually already had enough space. We were totally doing fine. This is maybe a little bit harder of a fight than I was hoping for. And I never reset the order of my characters, so that's a bummer.
Impressive.
However, if we could do that one more time to the Fusilier, I think things are going to be okay. Yeah, things are super going to be okay.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
It's just... Oh, man. Alright. I can literally do nothing from this position. Okay. Yep. Except move forward one so I can get shot by this guy.
Destroyed.
Nice. Man, super nice.
Ghoulish horrors. Brought low and driven into the mud.
We're definitely going to want the damage stone. Actually, you know what? At least for the inventory space for right now. Pop the torch.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
We already know that there's not another room battle because our quest was to complete all the room battles and we had already done that. So I feel like it was pretty safe wandering forward there. With no torches and a full pack, though, I do think it is time that we just head back. It was a fairly successful outing.
Hall by hall, we reclaim what is ours.
Yeah, I'm down with reclaiming what is ours. An okay haul, 4,000 gold. Certainly less than we spent to come down here. And although, like, it probably, let's see, we gained the ruby. Yeah, we got, like, man, like half of our gold came from just the decision to push forward. We also came away with just a lot of crests and a very small amount of busts. However, we did also come away with at least 2 more characters reaching Resolve level 1, so can't argue there. Clutch hitter. I feel like he's also got another clutch thing, like the +1 speed at below 50% HP. And I feel like he probably spent most of this dungeon at below 50% HP. Heal seals while camping. That's interesting. Night blindness, reduce stress, increase stress, and Cove Tactician. Yeah, none of those are super great, but I think we're a long way away from really being in a position to lock in positive quirks yet, so probably nothing I can really do with them.
Though long years may seek to separate them, action and consequence will invariably have their dreadful reunion.
Interesting. Intolerable. Clouds of mosquitoes and other less identifiable pests continue to descend upon the hamlet with maddening persistence. Illness and irritation abound. New courtyard quests available. Alright, so that answered that question, which was what do we have to do to gain access to the courtyard? Gain a maddening wine as a town event. Ooh. Ooh. Look at these little mosquito guys. Now, I have wondered, so we did gain access to the guild as well as the blacksmith. I have wondered. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Alright, we got we could go down to the wheel. That's actually not bad. Quickening satchel. We don't have any grave robbers right now. But we can also get a fortunate armlet for increased accuracy and crit chance, which is actually pretty good too. I could really care less about a youth chalice and 2 fortunate armlets. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so the courtyard. Short, burn the hives. The hamlet is afflicted with a plague of winged pests. Brave the swampy ruins of the courtyard and torch their monstrous colonies. Activate 3 thronging hives. Gain 5,000 gold. Whoa! Okay, we gained 5,000 gold. We gained 12 crests. We gained the Baron's Invitation. An invitation to an evening of games and entertainment. Signed, the Baron. And a Crime Lord's Molars. Bounty Hunter only. Crimson Court. Plus 15% damage versus marked, versus stunned, versus bleeding. Minus 10 to dodge. They will pay. And then there's other stuff down below it that's like grayed out for crit versus stuff. Is this gonna be like how the blood things work? Where like, I don't know how any of that is gonna play out. Okay, so what effect is this having? Any at all? Like while...
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
No, not really. Just illness and irritation abound. Maybe it's just a fancy way of introducing the courtyard. I mean, I feel like we're going there next, right? Like, do we just have to just see what everything is about? But that's interesting. So some train of thought that I was on a long time ago and got a little distracted from. I am kind of curious to see how the vampires are handled in the DLC, because there's some options there, right? In recent memory, Bloodborne had vampires that were just basically mosquito people things, and that was sort of their twisted take on a vampiric castle. It was surrounded by mosquito monsters that sucked blood, and certainly there's some mosquitoes here. Also, hey, by the time you're watching this, if you haven't checked it out, there is totally the Castlevania series being produced by Netflix that is now available. So you know, maybe some more traditional vampires to be found in that direction. However, I do want to pop back into here because these are some real good characters.
The thrill of the hunt. The promise of payment.
No healers, which kind of sucks for us, but I love every one of these classes, so that is super cool. We have also gotten access to the guild, so
Make
we can...
no mistake, we will face ever greater threats. Our soldiers must be ready.
We can now unlock the, you know, the level 1 skills that we didn't come with, like Iron Swan. Who doesn't love Iron Swan, right? So that is certainly something to consider. I guess the next episode is going to have us delving into the courtyard, and we'll see what all the fuss is about. But until then, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you did, feel free to subscribe. There's lots more on the channel. You can leave a like or a comment if you have anything to say about this or any of my other videos, and I will catch you guys next time.